Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. Our guest today, David Patrick, the Associate Head Coach of LSU, a longtime friend and coaching associate. David, my friend, returning from the Olympics. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on your show. Just a little bit jet lagged, but happy to be back home.
Yeah, no. So tell me, as a head coach of Sacramento State for the last couple of years, and then all of a sudden you make this transition the end of May, beginning of June, whatever it was. Tell me what your damn schedule was from like June through last week.
Yeah, look, anytime you take over, come to a new job, it's tough, right? The good thing for me is I've been at LSU before. This is what I call home, and so you take over a new job. I knew it. I wanted to live. I didn't need a roadmap coming here, and so that helped in the transition. I was fortunate. My administration here at LSU and Coach Matt McMahon were gracious enough to let me coach the Olympic team in Australia. And I'd really only been here 2 weeks and got to meet the team and meet the new staff. And then I got out of here June 16th and felt like went straight to training camp in Australia and literally been around the world. Started in the U.S., went to Australia, went to Abu Dhabi, went to Europe, and then ended up back in Baton Rouge a couple of days ago. So it was a whirlwind, but blessed and a phenomenal opportunity.
And, catching up with the team and meetings and stuff since, and now tomorrow going to take your little, I call her your baby girl, your 18-year-old away to college back to California, so that it is really whirlwind for you.
It is, man. It's kind of when you get back, you understand basketball is a small portion of your life. I do have a supportive family, and I tell all those coaches out there, your best assistant's your wife. She's my best support scheme and is able to really help me make the transition. We bought a house. I didn't see the house. They moved in the house, and by the time I got back from Paris, they were in there. So my job's just to unload the boxes. But to have somebody supporting you like Cassie has for me has been great, especially in this transition this year.
I appreciate that you can say that Cassie, who Zach and I love dearly, is your assistant coach. My wife is my head coach, so I hope Cassie doesn't listen to this. So, David, tell me, what did you learn coaching NBA players in the Olympics? Your team from Australia is almost all NBA players, and most of the 11 other teams have NBA players. Tell me what it's like, first of all, to coach NBA players, in your opinion.
Look, and obviously you're a pro and legend in this game. I think for me, I've been involved in the national team since 2017, and we had 6 NBA guys back then in our national program. Now we have 11 out of the 12, and the game's changed in this small period of time. And I think the biggest thing our NBA guys talked about was the word simplicity and clarity when we walked into training camp. It wasn't throwing a whole bunch of stuff on the wall and terms and terminology. It was simple schemes, with clarity, with your actions and with the wording and whatnot you called your plays. And so that was the most important thing for us from day one, and something that our guys demanded coming into training camp when they got such a small period of time to get ready to try to compete against the best in the world.
So, and I totally agree with that. The best players in the world, the best performers in any business, whether it be the arts, music, or business. I think to take things that, all coaches think whatever sport they coach is complex, but I think what we know the most effective way to teach and coach it is through simplicity. Tell me now, how do you take that and you apply it to as a college coach?
Look, I think for me, it's like, you start basketball training camp in college, which will be in the next couple of weeks for all of us. You start off, say in college, you start off with shell drill, with 3-on-0 shell drill, and then 4-on-0 shell drill and a build-up. You don't have time to do that with pros. One, they don't have the wherewithal to sit there and sit through 3-on-0 shell, 4-on-0 shell. You just get to it. You get to 5-on-5 shell and teach from that, from a defensive standpoint. And then from an offensive standpoint, it's put in 2 plays, see how it works against different defenses. So getting straight to the nuts and bolts of what you're trying to do, and then cleaning it up through film study, through one-on-one study. I think something that coming back to college, I think is something that all these NBA teams are doing now. Just because I think the mind space for these guys, the NBA guys now are 20 to 23 years old. Same as some of them are younger than our college guys. So to think that our college guys have more mind space than NBA guys, I think we're kidding ourselves. So for me, coming back is not trying to change what Coach Matt and his program has been doing, but try to give them some different viewpoints on how I think the NBA is going.
One of my biggest beliefs is the easiest thing to do is coach a team with bad players, because they'll do everything you tell them. The only problem is you're not going to win. The hardest thing to do is to coach great players. What did you find with the best players that you had? You had all NBA guys. What was the hardest thing or the biggest challenge as coaches? You have 3 basically NBA coaches as assistants, and then Brian Gorgian, the head coach, is one of the most experienced coaches in the world, and has coached everywhere. So what is your biggest takeaways of coaching those guys for you?
Look, I think you mentioned Brian Gorgian, who's our head coach and a legend in the FIBA game, international game. We had respect from the other assistants when they walked in the room. Adam Caporn, who's now with the Washington Wizards as one of the top assistants there. Matthew Nielsen, who's with the San Antonio Spurs. They walk in a room and they have respect from the players right away. And so when they speak, they're listening, and there's a belief there because of the programs they've come from. And then you throw in little old me. I've been fortunate to coach a lot of our players: Patty Mills, Matt Dellavedova, Joe Ingles over the years. Josh Giddey, I played with his dad, and so there's a respect level from day one. And I think whatever level you're at, if there's a respect and trust factor there, those players will buy into what you're trying to do, and that's earned. It's not given; it's earned. I think it's a two-way street, and knowing how each player learns is different to others. Patty Mills learns different to Josh Giddey. Josh Green learns different to Dante Exum, and you have to have the wherewithal to understand that each player learns and is taught to differently.
I was listening to a podcast the other day about Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were basically saying, here's this guy that, it's a different looking fella, an offensive lineman turned really an offensive genius, coaching the best quarterback in the world, the best tight end in the world, and how no matter what roster he has out, the guy just wins. And so they asked one of his players, how does he do it? And he's now, in his late 60s, how does he connect with these guys? And they said, every day he touches all 53 players. Every day. And he knows how to push the buttons of all 53 guys. NBA players, really good college players, same thing. That's a must, isn't it, to figure out? And it's not. And they said, well, how much does he talk to guys? He said he might say one word to a guy. He might literally just tap the guy in the ass and say, "Let's go." He has all different ways to connect with him. Your experience with that? We had, as when we were together here, we had Ben Simmons, the number one player in the country here. Who, again, when you're the best player in the country, you got to figure out how to connect with him. What do you think about how does that, from the college game to pro game, about that, the relationship aspect?
Well, I think you used the key word is connecting, right? And we all have these cultures, and everybody says connect and toughness, but I don't know how many really do it, and I'll be honest with that. And the one thing I thought from my stance, just observing during this campaign, is Coach Bryant's 71 years old. He rebounds at every basket every day for those players, and it's a little thing, but with him being able to pass the ball to a Mills, to a Deli, to a Jock Londale, it means something. Us as assistants rotate baskets and work out with those guys every day. And I think when you look at these college staffs now that we have in the U.S., when I was here with you, things are different. We only had, a couple GAs and Superstar and Zach. We spent time with them. I think now you go to college staffs, there's 13 managers. You rarely have that time with them. And I think, for me, it's a little piece, but at the end of the day, it's basketball. And they want to feel like you're helping them get to where they're trying to get to. So I think your time with them, can't go unnoticed and can't go unshared. You got to spend some time with them in the place that they want to do, which is hoops.
We're thrilled to have our longtime partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball on board as sponsors of the Coaching You podcast. Dr. Dish machines are undoubtedly the most user-friendly and advanced machines in the world of basketball today. Dr. Dish has completely revolutionized and reimagined the shooting machine to provide the best solution on the market. Join top programs around the world like Duke, North Carolina, Florida, and countless others, and upgrade your shooting machine to Dr. Dish. Dr. Dish machines are the best way to increase purposeful reps in your program to get players better, faster, while tracking progress along the way. Dr. Dish provides so much more than just your standard shooting machines with custom training, pro trainers, and coaches on demand, real-time and detailed analytics, and top-of-the-line drills and workouts. If you're looking to take your program to the next level, look no further than Dr. Dish for the best basketball training machine in the world. If you have an old machine that's just collecting dust in your gym, did you know that you can trade that in to Dr. Dish for up to $1,500 off and get a new dish? Make sure to give our friends at Dr. Dish a follow at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter and Instagram for great daily drills, workouts, tips, and inspiration. Or contact us at drdishbasketball.com. Don't forget to mention Coaching You or our podcast for $300 off your purchase. Coaches, are you looking to take your game preparation to the next level? Then FastModel Sports is the perfect coaching software for you. With FastDraw, build an organized library of plays and drills and create professional playbooks to share with your players and staff. You can also download over 9,500 free plays and drills from our Playbank directly to your FastDraw account. Looking for a better way to build your scouting reports and want to include video? With FastScout, build custom scouting report templates to prepare your team best for each individual opponent. Plus, did you know with the latest updates from FastModel Sports, you can now include video with your FastScout reports and share with your coaches and staff all within the FastScout mobile app. The combination of FastDraw and FastScout is by far the best way for you and your coaches to create winning game strategies and effectively communicate them to your team. Over 10,000 high school and youth coaches trust FastModel sports products to help their teams reach their goals. To order, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw or FastScout products. Remember, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw and FastScout products. Let's talk about basketball, since you're a savant in that area. As far as you had 11 other teams in the Olympics, 11 other countries, and every country had NBA guys, as we mentioned. But in watching all the games, and the thing I saw that's really changed from when I was in the Olympics in '92 is that every country has their own schemes, their own culture, their own style of play, maybe is a better word. How is that? It's really no different in a way of college and NBA. Every college team is a different style. But how was that in a short amount of time of 6 games, let's say, to prepare for all these different styles?
Ooh. Well, in training camp, you better be prepared for all those styles because this
Right.
isn't like you got one day to prepare to play
One day.
against the best coaches in the world. You know,
Wow.
and so one day you're playing Spanoulis with Greece, the next day you're playing Pesic with Serbia. You got one day to teach through film because it's hard to get on the floor with your body to know that. So your fundamentals and your foundation better be solid and intact before you even get to the tournament. That being said, the styles are different. Like you have to, you play a Spanish team, they're going to be very complex and intricate on the front end of offense, and then it's going to end up in middle ball screen or side ball screen. You can't get lulled to sleep with all the action happening on the front end of the offense. When you play France, who's more similar to the U.S., it's going to get straight to the pick and roll and isolate you with a Wembanyama or Nando De Colo or coming off screens ready to shoot. And then Serbia, the physicality that they play with the best player in the world in Jokic, how you guard a post versus Jokic is a lot different than when you're playing Spain, and you couple that with playing Greece with the Greek freak and Giannis. Your schemes have to be in place early on so that when you play them on a one-day scout, you know whether you're going to post trap, whether you're going to double a ball screen, how you're going to block out. You're trying to block out some of the best athletes in the world. How do you do that? And then obviously with the U.S., who we played in a practice match, unfortunately we couldn't get to the final. But when you play them, your offense better be on click because it's hard to stop them. You're playing against 12 of the best players in the world. But how are you playing offensively? It can't be traditional because you're not beating a USA post isolation, pick and roll isolation. What is your offensive package with the randomness of it going to help you? So you have to have a multitude of ways to play and have the ability to do that on a short preparation.
So virtually every team, for the most part, of the 11 teams, had a star. Okay, whether it's Jokic, whether it's Franz Wagner, whether it's Dennis Schroeder on the same team in Germany, Wemby, all these teams. And as we know, there's a ton of pick and roll, but there's also more post play than in the NBA. I noticed that your team and others were trapping more in the post. And guys like Jokic, who basically are at will, they score 30 and 40 every time they post up in the U.S. because no one double teams him in the NBA. He wasn't getting off with the numbers he's getting in the NBA. Why double team him? Why was it so damn successful? And should teams do more of that?
I think you need to. I think I think we as college coaches, or a lot of coaches, we get blown away by don't give up threes, don't give up threes. Well, if the best player on the floor is a post player, you better figure out a way how to at least contain him. Not going to stop him, but how do you contain him? And I think it's with post traps, and some of it's to contain him, and some of it's to keep your stars out of foul trouble. If our best two post players were Jock Landale was that starting 5-man who plays for the Rockets. Like, we don't need him with 2 fouls in the first quarter. So how do we keep him out of foul trouble? How do we keep a Jokic, a Giannis guessing on the block? Are we doubling? Are we not? And then obviously put out the fire on the back end when he throws it out. And now that's another fire you got to put out. But the most immediate fire is the best player in the world on the post.
And the similarity is college and FIBA, both 40-minute games, both 5 fouls.
Yeah.
As opposed to 48 minutes and 6 fouls. But so now all of a sudden you have to, and poor Jock Landale, who is a physical warrior, that guy got in foul trouble every game because he plays so hard. So really, you needed to try to protect him as much as possible, right?
Definitely, and then the games turn to switching, right? You switch 1 through 4 because of the 4 men can shoot. The 4 men are basically guards now. I don't even call them 4 men. It's kind of positionless, and then there's a 5 man.
Right.
So you switch and you end up fronting the post with a Patty Mills, and the ball goes in the post. And some of these post players, whether you're playing Franz Wagner or you got Anthony Edwards on a post, do you want someone my size in the post with him, or do you want to bring help? And so I think having that in your arsenal and not worrying about what's happening after it's put that fire out initially is something that we thought we had to do. We weren't the most talented team in the competition, so for us to disrupt and play different ways gave us a chance to stay in the games, and I think it's what we put our hat on.
I thought the interesting thing about your team that you guys really had the best team offense in the games.
Yeah.
Which because you flowed, and the amount of points you guys scored was absolutely amazing to me. Because Patty Mills being like 50 years old, now, I mean, the guy is 18 years in the NBA this year coming up. He's just an incredible FIBA Olympic player. And to see him perform in the Olympics is incredible. But what was the success of why you guys, without the most talent, had the best team offense?
Well, I think the word pace and speed and play fast is in vogue and thrown around, and we wanted to play with pace, and our pace is ball movement and player movement, not how fast you shoot the ball or how fast you dribble the ball down the floor. And I think when you watch us, when we're playing the way we're capable of playing, we're hard to guard because it's the randomness of the cutting, the randomness of the passing, the keeping the ball off the floor. Like, not everybody gets to dribble. You watch some teams and it's catch, jab, it's my turn. We try not to do that. And I think that's why you see the ball get to the first side, second side, third side with a freedom. And it's the one thing that's hard to scout,
Yeah, David, when you guys in the Olympics, and you mentioned that, so much now has gone to switching a lot of pick and rolls, especially 1 through 4. What were the other coverages that you saw used either by yourselves or other teams in the Olympics on different pick and rolls?
Pick and rolls. Obviously, switching is key. I think the one way to beat it is sometimes have your guard roll. We don't always, we have our guards roll at times, which people just always pop, and you're easy to guard when you switch and you pop. The icing on the side of the floor has come back in by some countries. I know ice went away from ice, which means down. A lot of places call it down or
right.
blue. Icing was prevalent by Serbia more than anybody, and that got them back into they were the one team that really iced and kept them in games. They weaked, which is forced left in the middle of the floor. That was in vogue then a few years ago. Now it came back by then. So that was different. I think the mixing up of the trapping on ball screens was prevalent. And then, the going zone late on baseline of bounds was something that Puerto Rico did that got them into the tournament, which was different, And so being able to prepare for all that, which is a lot like college because you don't have to prepare for that in the NBA. Not
right.
that it's very, very little zone unless you're playing the Miami Heat or somebody.
Right, exactly.
Phenomenal. But, in that setting, you got a lot of curveballs thrown at you, and you have to have the answers as a coach on how to combat it. Because if you don't, they're gonna look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I noticed Germany, who won the World Cup that you also coached in last year in the Philippines. Gordy Herbert, their great coach, his style of play, he played the slowest pace, and was incredibly effective. Not that they didn't fast break, but they ran more set plays, and they had a really interesting style, and they had, 3 or 4 good NBA players. With Mo Wagner, of course, Franz's brother, I thought played great in the Olympics. But So and Schroeder, I think, is one of the best FIBA players there is. The guy is like you don't even recognize him from the NBA when he plays in FIBA. He's just another superstar. I think he's just amazing. But what do you think about the U.S. team? And this is not by any means, we're not going to knock the U.S. team. Coaching as you have for several years, the continuity of a program like you have with the Boomers versus basically picking an all-star team.
Look, I think the experience of playing at FIBA helps, and
Good call.
You look at Halliburton, who I think this is his second time through. The World Cup was last year, and then obviously the Olympics being this year. And the Olympics is a different animal than the World Cup, and I think you agree the best players in the world tend to show up for the Olympics, and the World Cup it's a pick 'em depending what country it's in, right? And so. I think when you're talking about continuity of your program, you're also talking about understanding the FIBA game and the physicality that comes with it. The refereeing is different, the court size is different, and when you look at the U.S., if they didn't have those three veterans come back, Curry, KD, and LeBron, you don't know where that thing lands for them. I'm not saying they wouldn't have won it, but it's a different animal. And when you look at us, we're not the most talented team, but we have some veterans who've played a lot of FIBA, and the ones that hadn't, Giddey and Dyson Daniels, the little touch they got last year got them prepared for this campaign in the Olympics, and you're hopeful that they take the next step. But I think the continuity of your program has got to be key, especially for the U.S. moving forward, and it's got to mean something to you because it means so much to us, the other countries, when it comes to competing on that world stage and playing for your country.
Another interesting thing that I've looked at for the past few years, I know on the men's and women's side, we always pick head coaches to be assistants. But I really think that if you look at the other countries, the head coach has assistants being assistants for the most part. And I think they fit that role better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what their assistant coaches are used to supporting a head coach. Eric Spoelstra, Mark Few, all those guys, Ty Lue, phenomenal coaches, but they're used to standing up and coaching the whole game themselves. And now all of a sudden they have to sit. I think it's really a huge adjustment for them. But I know they did extraordinary. But it's
a different role for them, Coach. Sorry to cut you off. The different role, but I think last year, maybe during the World Cup, that gave them a taste of what to expect come the Olympics. And
I agree.
From a positive standpoint, we were fortunate to play them in Abu Dhabi, and to see Coach Few out there shagging balls for the players, and Coach Spoelstra out there working the guys out. I think for them, it's probably a good basis of getting back and being that touch that you get with the guys that you don't get as the head coach. And so even that part, having continuity, I think helps. But to get a new head coach in that role every year, I think is tricky.
All three of those guys were assistant coaches. Steve Kerr's the only one that's never been an assistant coach.
Got it.
Yeah, this is interesting. Hey, listen, what about the other question I have for you on the full court defense? I noticed Serbia obviously has the huge comeback against you guys with full court pressure defense. I saw more pressing man-to-man defense in the Olympics than ever.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we laid our hat on it as well. I think us and Serbia were the two teams that picked up for 40 minutes, and we like to disrupt the whole time. And I think the reality is you're trying to wear the other team's point guard down over the course of time. And maybe you get the ball out of his hand and the 3-man or the 4-man has to bring it up and you're eating into the shot clock. Obviously the NBA talent, they don't have to do that because the guards are so good in the league. They're probably going to go by you. But I think from an international standpoint, it's something that you're guarding these great offensive coaches with 18, 17 seconds left on a shot clock as opposed to having to guard the whole 24 seconds, And so I think it's something that I'd like to bring back, for us here at LSU, for a way that we can, stop these superstar guards that are in the SEC. And you're not going to stop them, but you're just trying to wear them down and have them initiate offense from somewhere else. But I think it's come back and something that we should all look at.
Well, I noticed that Curry even Halbert, not him, but more like, some of these Drew Holiday, they don't like to be picked up full court. The best guy running the ball up the court was LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a guy that can come and get him full court. So they had that ace in the hole. But I agree with you on that. David, what excites you most about coaching now? You've done this now for a while, and now you really have gone as a head coach. You've been an assistant at great programs. You've been on the World Cup and the Olympic stage. What excites you now about coaching more than ever?
Look, it's always been for me relationship, right? I know it's thrown around, but I think the relational piece that I have with my staff and my players I'm coaching that year are important to me. I think now though I think I have more answers to the student athletes that ask me questions like how do we attack switching? How do we attack middle pick and roll? How do I guard this guy? Like I think my glossary of answers is better, and I'm able to speak to it from different levels. And then when you talk about jumping to the SEC, obviously going to play at Kentucky and Arkansas as a Bear, but it's nothing like preparing for Jokic or Giannis or LeBron. And so I feel like I'm adept to do that now, even more so. And then knowing program, I think there's no stage that I'm afraid of. I've been fortunate to be a head coach twice. I've used your advice. I wasn't at the Power 5 level, but I tried some stuff that I probably couldn't try at the SEC as a head coach, and figured out what worked and didn't work for me. But I think ultimately it's all the same thing. It's relationships. It's how close your team and staff can be, and how hard you play together. And I think for me, I'm just excited to get back on the floor with these guys because I think I have so much more to give them, and obviously I'm always excited to keep learning.
Tell you what, Zach and I are excited to have you back in Baton Rouge, my friend, and it's really glad, and we're glad the Tigers were able to get you to come back because it's going to be a really great help for Matt and his program and the other guys on the staff. They're gonna really love it, and I just think that the Tigers are in a great spot going forward, and I just think that you're going to really be helpful and integral part of that. But we're thrilled you're back, my friend, and have a safe trip to California, taking baby girl to college, and I look forward to visiting with you when you return.
Thanks so much as always, man, and go Tigers.
Big thank you to our friend David Patrick. As I think you can tell, an amazing coach, and we're so glad, Zach and I are so glad to have him back in Baton Rouge, and he's really going to be an amazing addition to the LSU program. I think the experience that David has gone through on the international stage, combined with what he's done as a college coach, makes him one of the most unique coaches. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he might have been the only college coach that actually coached in the Olympics this year other than Mark Few, which is absolutely amazing when you think about it like that. So amazing experience, opportunities, and I think it's really cool. I think one of the things that I love so much about having guests like David is that, they can bring you these things and give you some ideas of things that have worked and tried against some of the best players in the world, and I think that's priceless. Also, for our listeners and our Coaching You Plus subscribers, we have had an incredible summer, starting in June with our Southeast Super Clinic in Orlando, where we had 6 Final Four coaches. Absolutely crushed it. It was phenomenal. Then if you go to Vegas with us in July, our Coaching You Live event was just absolutely fabulous. And so those videos are all available on the app right now. World-class teaching. And then as we're releasing this today, Zach and I have just come off doing 2 clinics in Florida, which will be posted in about a week and a half, which you'll have Larry Shiatt's clinic, which is one of the most sought-after things you can get in coaching, as well as the Florida Association of Basketball Coaches, 9 coaches, really first class. And for those of you that want to know what's happening in September, 2 great clinics, one in Nashville at one of the best coaching associations, the BCAT, Tennessee coaches, incredible as always. And then when we go to Ohio, where they have always an incredible group of coaches. So Coaching You Plus, plus.com. One of the greatest investments you can make to get world-class coaching. Have a clinic every day on your own device. Till next week, this is the Coach Brendan Suhr.